afternoon. Welcome to Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Superior Court Update Briefing Meeting for Thursday, February 4th, 2021. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. We also have Commissioner Carolina Mejia and Vice Chair Commissioner Edwards will be joining us a few minutes late. We have a public call-in number 360-252-9020, pin 1234, as well as live stream through the county's YouTube channel. And we're also joined by our presiding Superior Court Judge, Eric Price, and our Thurston Superior Court Administrator, Pam Hartman-Beyer, and we have an open, basically forum, monthly check-in, no specific agenda items identified. Ramiro?
Yeah, this is your monthly update with Superior Court. This really is an opportunity to have an open conversation, share of information, and answer questions that anybody could have.
Okay, usually start with the court, so I guess I'll turn to Judge Price.
Well, good afternoon to you all. I don't have a lot on my agenda today since we spoke a month ago. Two issues that I wanted to raise that I know we talked about a little bit, I think, last month. And one is we have now, since we last met, we have our new judge. Judge Sharonda Amamilo has now joined us. She officially took office, I think, about January 11th, if I'm not mistaken. And that triggered, and that, of course, followed the retirement of Judge Hirsch. And I think I said some very heartfelt words about our thoughts about losing Judge Hirsch. Obviously, it's a big miss for those of us who really, really enjoyed working with her. But it did cause a shuffle of some of the judges. And I know we've talked about that a little bit before, but just to reiterate, we've had a rotation then of judges. We have 2 judges over at Family and Juvenile Court, and we have 6 here at main campus. And everybody sort of switched. Judge Christopher Lanise and Judge Christine Schaller are now over at Family and Juvenile Court. Judge Mary Sue Wilson, who is at Family and Juvenile Court, has now come over to main campus. And Judge Amamilo has now joined us over here at main campus. So the chief criminal judge, or the criminal judge and drug court judge, has also switched from Judge Schaller. As she left for FJC, she has now relinquished the reins of drug court, adult drug court, to Judge Skinder. So Judge Skinder is now the drug court judge, as well as the principal judge in charge of the criminal calendars. So that's one big change that's happened since our last update. That means there's a lot of change with staffing in terms of caseloads. The civil caseload for Judge Skinder has moved, and Judge and Judge Wilson has taken on a civil caseload. So all of those changes are happening now. The other issue that I wanted to mention is House Bill 1167. This, if you recall, is the 9th Superior Court judge, where through Administrative Office of the Courts, they've run a piece of legislation sponsored by Representative Bateman and Representative Dolan, our 2 22nd District representatives, as well as a Representative Hackney from up north. That bill essentially authorizes a 9th judge here in Thurston County. We currently have 8, and we are underjudged by almost 3. So this kind of cuts that by a third. It still leaves us underjudged, but at least it makes a fairly significant headway. And no doubt the commission will remember that you've approved. The way it works is, of course, the county pays for half of a judge's salary and the state pays for half. So it's sort of a 2-piece approval process. First, the county approves it, and then you take that approval to the legislature, and then the legislature has to approve it through a bill. 1167 got a hearing last Tuesday, and I testified, and both Pam Hartman-Beyer and I testified at the Civil Rights and Judiciary Committee. Commissioner Bateman did a fantastic job in introducing the bill to the committee as a sponsoring member. And the testimony was brief. We were on a very crowded calendar where they took up a number of bills, and one in particular took a lot of time. So I'm not sure the commission felt that there was a lot of need for us to testify about it because it seemed as though there was bipartisan approval of it. And in fact, the last time I checked, which is actually, I should have checked this morning, I had something else going on, but last I checked, the committee had a report with a due pass that was signed off on by both the majority and the minority members. So I don't necessarily see a lot of controversy there. Obviously, it's a much bigger ask of the local county in terms of the finances than it is for the state, all things considered in terms of percentages. So we're really hopeful, and I know Representative Bateman is hopeful as well that the bill will go through, and the ramifications of that are immense for us in terms of getting another judicial officer by I think November 1 would be the soonest date that we would have someone on board. So that's really all I had. I'm more than happy to answer questions on any of that.
Your Honor, House Bill 1167 has been referred to appropriations as of yesterday. So.
Oh, good, excellent. Well, that's all very positive. As you folks with experience in the legislature know, that the ball has to kind of keep rolling because plenty of them stop rolling, and you don't really know why. They just kind of don't move. And one of the things that we all know is this is a very difficult session. Very, very difficult to get certain bills through. They're very, very focused on pandemic issues and justice issues, not necessarily new judges. So I'm very happy that's the news coming out. I should also mention, when I said I only had 2 issues, the third one is, of course, jury trials. Just an update on there. Jury trials have been suspended until March 1 for criminal, into June for civil. And at this point, we're in ongoing discussions with Dr. Abdumalik and the county health. We will be watching it very closely, the situation over the next couple of weeks. We have a very bright line at about February 18th-ish, where we confirm trials for March 1 in a sort of a meaningful way. There's certainly many set. Right now, I think, I haven't checked, 50, 60 cases set for March 1. There will be more probably set by then. But whether they actually go on March 1, we really have to kind of fish or cut bait close to February 18th. So, and in our discussions with Shelley Slaughter and Dr. Abdulmalik, they understand that. And so we're watching the data very carefully. It is our sincere hope that there won't be another extension. But of course, there's a lot of wild cards, and everyone knows you don't like the news, wait 5 minutes. Or if you like the news, unfortunately, you might have to wait 5 minutes. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay, Commissioner Mejia, anything on any of those topics?
I do not. Thank you.
I had a meeting, I have a monthly meeting with the prosecutor and public defense and sheriff. We met this morning, and it's kind of like with the schools, right? It's like the public health guidance is here, but then there's other factors, and they kind of build up, and the pressure was building up for, concern about damage to kids and stuff. And, that has to be all balanced out. And it's kind of the same with the criminal system. I mean, definitely the right thing to do is what was done, but the system is building up, and the lawyers are feeling like they can't get cases resolved without that trial outlet to sort of break jams. And the lawyers, I think, I was listening to the prosecutor and public defender director commiserate about how both of their staffs are kind of experiencing the same thing, which is just a lot of frustration, and caseloads are mounting, times going into the cases. So again, it's just something else to balance. And I'm hopeful that the public health guidance will allow us to do something that's safe and helps alleviate that pressure that's building up. I'm a judge. I am glad to hear what I heard something, I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard something positive. I think it was I was at a meeting that involved our LD22 delegation, and they were just reporting on the status of various things last week. And it must have been Jessica who said something very optimistic about how that bill is going. So I was feeling good about that. And yeah, as far as your judge shuffle, I'm sure staff loves that shakeup. Commissioner Mejia can attest to that. But Judge Skinner, of course, is a former prosecutor who has a wealth of experience on all that. So that sounds good. And Judge Lanise over at Family Court will be a good, interesting, probably learning curve for him. Is he excited about that, or was it kind of drew the short straw?
No, not at all. No, he is very excited about that, and you know, it's a pleasant place to be. Frankly, it's a newer building, so that at some base level, it's a desirable place to be. But I think you know, going to your point, it is a learning curve, which is why we're really excited that we were able to match up Judge Lanise's sort of movement over there with Judge Schaller being the chief judge over at Family Juvenile Court, because, you know, probably unique among the current judges, has just got that depth of experience at Family Juvenile Court. She's been, you know, she was over there for years as a commissioner, and then as a judge, she's been chief judge over there in a previous rotation. So it's a really good, pairing, I think, to have, you know, one of our newer judges and then the one with the depth of experience to help really learn that area. It's a special, and you know, Commissioner, you may know this, but it's a very specialized area. There's a lot of really important things that happen over there with families and with kids, and there's an entirely different bar of lawyers that practice over there. So there is a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm really optimistic that that both with the guidance and experience that Judge Schaller has, and also the enthusiasm that Judge Lanise has, that it's going to be a really positive. I would just, let me just go back to your other point regarding the pressure on the system. You're absolutely right about that. You know, there was some reference recently in the media about the number of trials we did. You know, we only did 5 or something like that in that time period where jury trials were not suspended, you know, that July through November time period. But the fact is, just having the potential of a trial with a real jury coming in, we saw massive numbers of resolutions that otherwise probably would not have happened. And that is something that is on the forefront of our mind. I mean, it's almost as if, you know, even though we can only do 2 trials at a time, you get so much more movement in cases when you have the reality of a potential trial with the parties having to grapple with that. And so there's no question. I mean, just because you can't reach a trial doesn't mean there is not meaningful positive movement in multiple cases. So yeah, and comparing it to schools is exactly right. The collateral consequences of suspending trials goes beyond what you might think. There's an awful lot of consequences to it, and you have to balance that with the safety of the individuals you're bringing in, and it's a balance. And what I am happy to you know, as I have been in the difficult place of having to try to make those decisions in consultation with the other judges and in consultation with Dr. Abdulmalik, I make those, hit those moments with a lot of confidence that Dr. Abdulmalik and Shelley Slaughter, in their role, have been able to learn enough about the court system to balance those other considerations. Just like I'm sure they have the public health consequences in the schools, they have also taken their time to talk with us at length multiple times about all these additional pressures that, you know, in custody criminal defendants feel, and the movement of cases and the burdens. And so when they're providing us their medical advice, I'm happy to say that I have confidence that they at least have you know, a more than minimal knowledge about the other pressures that the system has.
Good. What does a brand new judge get on her plate? Judge Alanino, what does she have to do in your first few months?
Well, she's currently in the second of 2 weeks of judicial college. Normally, it would have been like all of us have gone through that. You go to some conference room for 2 weeks and you don't see the sunshine and then you just have the fire hose of information being poured down your throat. It's a very difficult thing to do to know it. Well, it's an impossible thing to do to know everything that you need to know or know everything you will know 1 month, 10 months, 2 years from now as a new judge. But she's right now in that process. We are looking forward to having her take a load starting next week. She will be on the trial rotation. Nearly all new judges get put on the trial rotation first. There's been a couple, if I'm not mistaken, I think Judge Hirsch way back when, some 16 years ago, wasn't. But I think for the most part, it's pretty typical. Certainly that's where I started, and all the judges since I started as a trial judge, which means a civil practice, civil caseload, doing trials, including criminal trials and civil trials, and then helping out on criminal calendars. So it'll be. I mean, I'm glad I'm not a new judge. It's a difficult thing to go through, but I know that she's really excited and learning a lot, and she'll get her, right into the frying pan next week.
Ramiro, do you have any questions for this court?
No, I think Judge Price answered my question of what the rotation really means, and I think you did. Thank you.
Robin, anything? No? Mr. Mejia, anything you thought of? We don't have to suck up the whole time if we're good to go.
No, I
We were briefings today.
I had a check-in with Judge Price last week, so we were able to talk a little bit, and he was able to answer some of my questions. So at this time,
great. Well, are there any other pieces of legislation that you've heard about, that you're worried about, that you think concern the court? There's such a flurry, I kind of lose track of what all is out there. Are you guys tracking anything besides your ninth judge?
Well, and interesting question, because Pam and I just had this discussion yesterday about, we get like the Superior Court Judges Association has a lobbyist that follows all the potential legislation that could affect the courts, both collectively and individually. And I think the list is like, I don't know, 50, 60 measures. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There are.
You get that times every other department.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. So, there was one in particular that might have some significant adjustment to the way preliminary appearances might be conducted, that we were asked for input on from our association. I hesitate to talk about it because I have no idea about the whether this bill is going to go anywhere or not. But there are things that will certainly affect us if they start getting serious consideration. And some of them, of course, involve funding things. So I hope your association is watching them too. Pam, did you have anything specific that you were wanting to talk about in that regard?
No, the UGA piece for minors is delayed, through June at this point, the end of June. But at this point, the adult piece kicks in 2022. And so that's a piece of funding where I think they're trying to get the fiscal piece attached. But then there's a whole bunch of bills that they're tracking for protection orders. I mean, there's just a ton of legislation out there that could change a lot of our practices. It's hard to tell what's going to die and what's going to be carried forward, but I know our association's on it. I know Superior Court Judges Association's on it, and I'll just keep in contact with Romero or Robin if I see something that I think is going to get pushed forward.
A bombshell of sorts,
right,
that we might not have understood because we're not as dialed into your business.
I will say there is one bill that I should mention because one of our judges is going to testify on it. Both Judge Lanise and then a former Thurston County Superior Court Judge, Judge Sutton, are testifying in favor of a Senate bill And I don't have the number at my fingertips, but it's a bill that would, that I know Judge Sutton has been talking about, boy, for almost 10 years. But it's a bill that would be significant for us in a good way. It would allow certain administrative appeals to leapfrog Superior Court in Thurston County. Currently, Thurston County Superior Court has to hear an immense number of administrative appeals. And, you know, we make all and oftentimes these are decisions having to be made on boxes, bankers' boxes of records, dozens and dozens and dozens of pages of briefing and very complicated issues, sometimes about, for example, I'll give you an example, the Spokane permits on the Spokane River, very complicated PCB type permitting from various dischargers in the Spokane River. Those go to the Pollution Control Hearings Board, and then and massive issues with big significant dollar amounts attached to it, reams of paper. You know, the Pollution Control Hearings Board will hear days of testimony, and then someone will appeal it, whether it's the Department of Ecology or whether it's one of the permit holders, and it'll come to Superior Court, and you know, we'll do what we can to make as best decision as we can. I mean, I have a number of ones I have to make even tomorrow. And then it goes to the Court of Appeals completely de novo. In other words, what we do at this stage means nothing when it goes to the Court of Appeals. And then they have clerks and multiple people that can really dive into it and make a decision that is reflective of the resources that they have to turn to those kind of matters. So I know, again, talking to Judge Sutton, she has talked in the past about why does that make any sense? And certainly us at the Superior Court level go, why does that, you know, we, again, do everything we can to make the best decision we can. But if the issue is going to go to the Court of Appeals, why are we inundating the Superior Court with that when it could potentially go to Division II directly? So I don't know all the ins and outs of that particular piece of legislation.
Hey, Pam, can you send me the bill number?
It's Senate Bill 5225.
5225. Yeah, actually, that's exactly right. Senate Bill 5225, and it's got a Tuesday, February 9th at 10:30 in the Senate Law and Justice Committee. It gets a hearing. So that's one that has more of a relationship to us directly. And again, one of our judges is testifying in favor of it. So we'd be excited about that if that passes for sure.
And I will tell you, Tanya and I had a conversation about the number of these cases because we do hear a large number of state impact cases, and we don't think that this number is large. I mean, there are a number of de novo cases, but we don't think this would impact our state impact case number that we receive. So although the impacts to the judges would be hefty because of the reams and reams of paper that you heard Judge Price talking about, and the impacts to the judiciary and the fact that it just goes to the Court of Appeals and they get to hear the case all over again, I don't think it would impact our state impact numbers that we get from the state, or the volume of cases that we still receive because we're in the capital. And those types of cases. So
that's a really important point, because we want to make sure we don't, have positive news here and have it have ramifications at some other end. I think that's exactly right. The limitation of this bill means that the actual the effect of the numbers of cases, that's always been one of my beefs, frankly, about those state case impact numbers, is that the number of cases don't necessarily reflect the significance and impact of them in terms of time. But this would peel off a small portion of that only. And we'd still have many cases involving state agencies, Public Records Act cases and damages cases, and all those cases that have to be filed at Superior Court to begin with. So.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Great. All right. Well, with that, let's adjourn, and we appreciate your time today, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Back at 2 p.m.